Hi guys, thanks for joining me. This is the last of our 3 videos. This one is about knowing your mortgage rights. Some of this may be a slight repeat, but there's a lot of good information here. I just want to make sure you have all the pieces that you need before I send you off to start your own success story. So let's go through this one. This is going to be a shorter video. Know your rights. Find your loan documents and read them so you know what your lender may do if you can't make your payments. Learn about the foreclosure laws and time frames in your state, as every state is different. You need to contact your state government housing office. Understand foreclosure prevention options. There's valuable information about foreclosure prevention and loss mitigation. These options are all online. There's a very large website underneath the HUD.gov website. They have a wealth of information that you could get lost in, honestly. But if you need additional follow-up information, it's a great place to start. Avoiding foreclosure when a lender won't work with you. You've done all your homework, explored your workout options, you've talked to a housing counselor and tried to talk to your lender, but the lender won't work with you. What do you do now? If you have a conventional loan, you can talk to a HUD-approved housing counselor at 800-569-4287. They may be able to help you with your lender. You can also contact Hope Now or call the Homeowners Hope Hotline at 888-995-HOPE to ask for assistance in working with your lender. States have laws in place that will not allow a mortgage lender to take your home without proper notice and without allowing you time as the homeowner to reclaim your property. Again, that's known as the right of redemption. As long as the lender thinks that you have every intention on keeping your home and you won't go without a fight, they have to abide by the laws which grant you the ability to stay in the home for as long as it takes them to move through the legal process of foreclosure. And yes, that does include even if you're not making a payment. You will need to review the laws in your state to determine how long that period of time is, because it varies by state. Now, in our state, your lender has to notify you, also known as serve you in person, by hand delivering the foreclosure notice, also called a complaint. This will usually show up after 3 to 4 months of non-payment. They will usually attempt to provide you notice of a foreclosure for at least 20 to 30 days. They do not have to hand it to the homeowner. They can hand it to anyone in the home that answers the door. If you ignore the front door and they are unable to contact you, the lender is also required to place a notice of foreclosure in the local newspaper and can consider that as being compliant under the law and can continue with the foreclosure process. You have between 20 and 28 days to respond or answer the notice. You must respond in order to protect your rights to keep the home. Now, by doing this, it proves to the bank that you won't go easily and are willing to put up a fight. If the bank knows you aren't going to lie down without a fight, they may try harder to work with you even if they didn't before, and may offer you a better loan modification than previously discussed. Remember, banks don't want your home. It's viewed as bad debt on the books, and they can only write off so much debt for so long. If you come to an agreement on a loan modification with your bank and you are not able to keep up with the payments in the future as agreed to under this new loan modification, you may be accelerating any future ability you have to staying in the home. The foreclosure process in some cases can last as long as 18 months to 3 years, depending on how you handle it. You do not want to play the game of Russian roulette. I've spoken to you before about the gentleman whose book I read, How Do You Stay in Your Home Without Making a Payment? Again, this is a game of cat and mouse with the bank. This isn't something you want to mess around with when your family's at stake. You never know what's going to happen. It puts a lot of stress on you and on the family. You're continually dealing with these conversations back and forth, trying to prevent them or slow down the process. You may as well just get right to it, get this thing over with, contact them, and get your loan modified. Now, your new modified loan terms will most likely have a clause in the contract that says the lender has the right to an accelerated process and can skip some of the usual steps and go straight to foreclosure, since they've made every effort to try and work with you, but you have violated your new standing contract. If this should happen, it may only allow you 6 to 9 months to stay in your home. Make sure you are confident in your ability to repay under the new loan terms. If you do not believe you can make the payments the bank has suggested, you'll need to say so and provide additional proof. Remember, when I first got my offer from the bank, the modification that they had suggested was nowhere near what we could honestly afford. And so we had to provide additional proof. You won't have to deal with that. You know how to avoid that. We've already discussed it. In some states, after you receive the notice of foreclosure, there will be a hearing at the courthouse where your lender will state their reasons for wanting to foreclose. In other states, a court hearing isn't necessary for foreclosures to take place. Again, that goes back to whether you have a judicial foreclosure state or a non-judicial foreclosure state. You'll want to find that out. You have the right to dispute the lender's claims, but in all honesty, during this court session, you won't win because you are behind in payments, and unless you plan to pay back the outstanding fees and debts, you'll be viewed as violating your contract with your lender. So the judge is going to rule most likely in the favor of your lender. This step in the process delays the inevitable, but it's still an additional step in the timeline. Now, you don't have to go to the hearing, and you don't need an attorney if you decide to go at this stage, but you do have to respond to the letter that notifies you that they are either taking you to court or that you've been notified of your pending sale. Otherwise, the bank may view this as you not wanting to keep the home and again may accelerate the process. After the hearing, the lender is granted the right to pursue the property and will continue with a sheriff's sale, or also known as a trustee sale. There is a period of time, that window of opportunity after the sheriff's sale, that the lender must wait before they can evict you. This is your right as the homeowner to reclaim the property, which means you must pay all the past due debts and the accrued fees, including attorney's fees. In the off chance, that you happen to win the lottery, or you have a rich relative that's willing to loan you a large amount of money, this allows the homeowner time to repay the outstanding balance. That's that period, that window of opportunity that you have. You want to make sure you take the opportunities prior to the sheriff's sale to try and negotiate and work something out with your bank. The length of time after the sheriff's sale varies widely by state. The most common grace periods are within 6 to 12 months. During this time, you are not required to make the house payments, nor are you forced to leave the home. Make sure you pay attention to that. You are not forced to leave the home anywhere between the beginning, your notice of sale, and until after the notice of sale. You still may remain in the home until the time that they can be granted the eviction. Now, you don't want to get too close. We've already talked about that. You don't want to get too close to that time frame, because at that point there's no planning. There's no delay. The sheriff shows up, you have to leave the same day. During this time, you are not required to make any of the house payments. We just discussed that. After the grace period, you will then be approached by the sheriff and in most cases evicted immediately while they remain on the property and you move out. If during any part of the foreclosure process you leave the home, you automatically forfeit your rights to the property and may have accelerated the process underneath what they call abandonment. So do not leave your home. Another point is that if you leave the home, you may not have the option of trying to work anything out with your bank. So stay in your home. Depending on your individual case and state, there are many variables factored into the length and time that you will be allowed to stay in the home after the grace period. Number one, lenders are so backed up with foreclosures right now that the initial process may take longer than 3 to 4 months before it even starts, but that's generally the time frame. Number two, depending on how flipped you are on your home may determine how quickly the bank pursues you. Now, this is an important factor. In our case, my personal case, we had already claimed bankruptcy, If we had gone to foreclosure first, bankruptcy would have been a final result, as this adds a few more months to the process and delays the lender's ability to continue the foreclosure process until the case is settled. So in most cases, if you start to go through foreclosure and for some reason you were flipped, you end up walking away from a short sale or something else where you're required to pay the outstanding debt, you don't think that you can manage that, and then you end up filing bankruptcy, that's a completely different ordeal, and it's something that you'll need to talk to an attorney about to decide which your best bet, or excuse me, what your best journey basically should be for you and your family. Now, for example, if you owed $200,000 on your home, but due to the housing crisis it will only sell for $150,000, the bank is going to lose the difference on the loan, as well as have to add on all the costs of foreclosure, like the attorney's fees and homeowner's insurance, any other accrued fees that may have been incurred. Now, this is where, if for some reason you don't have a lot of loss in the value of your home and they can turn it and sell it rather quickly without a large loss, they may pursue you more quickly. If, though, you have a large loss and you don't stand to be able to repay that debt to the bank, they may consider taking more time with you. They may not push it as quickly. They may be more inclined to work with you because the chances of them being able to get that full amount back from you are, in place already. You've already signed that contract. You've already agreed on the house amount, what the outstanding loan is. So they're more inclined to work with you at that point. That's why that housing analysis that we spoke about with a realtor is extremely important for you to follow through on that process, so you know as well where you may be sitting with your lender, and it also gives you that extra leverage. If up until now you have been making timely payments and you have a lot of equity in your home, the bank will be more inclined to pursue you faster in an effort to get as much out of the home as possible in the resale. In 2 cases I know of, one family stayed in their home for 2 years without making a payment. In another very unusual case, a family stayed for 3 years, but again, that's extremely unusual and rare. Number 3, if you work out a payment plan and it is not a remodification loan where you have to sign a contract, only an oral agreement that you've worked out with the lender, and you make one or more of those payments, it is often viewed as good faith on your part. In some cases, this not only stops the foreclosure process, but it resets the clock back to the beginning, and then the process starts all over again. If there is a missed payment after that, this again is rare, as the banks are so flooded now with delinquent properties that they are going through on all the motions up front to prevent any future delays in payment from you. So basically what that is saying is, if you happen to miss some payments and now you want to try and get back in the good graces of your lender, and it's only been, say, 2 months, and they haven't really started the ball rolling with the foreclosure process, and you try to, in good faith, give them half a payment, or you give them one payment, but you're still missing from another payment, they may actually push that off and try and work something out with you. If, however, you end up trying to work a scam on them, or you end up trying to delay the process and you make some kind of payment and then you think that it's going to push it off, and then you make another payment, and then in another month you miss another payment, and you kind of keep playing this cat and mouse game with them. In a lot of cases, they've seen people do this. There are unfortunately a lot of people out there who have just completely stopped paying and have no reason. They didn't have a big event happen in their family, and so because of that, the banks have been having to protect themselves with very good reason, and unfortunately now what they've been doing is they're not taking any chances. They're not playing the cat and mouse game any longer. They're starting the process immediately when you start missing your payments, so that if for some reason they've worked something out with you Down the road, you miss another one, they're not going to play cat and mouse. They've already started the process with you. They're going to keep going on that trail. So make sure that you know and understand what's going on. And if they've given you some type of oral agreement, which is what this was talking about, that you also get it in writing, that they have stopped the foreclosure process. You want to know that. Now, don't lose your home to foreclosure recovery scams. If any firm claims that they can stop your foreclosure immediately, and if you sign a document appointing them to act on your behalf, you may actually be signing over the title to your property and becoming a renter in your own home. Make sure that you know who you're working with. Again, it goes back to that accredited home housing HUD agency is what you should be looking for. Never sign a legal document without reading and understanding all the terms and getting professional advice from an attorney, a trusted real estate professional, or that HUD-approved housing counselor. Now, I've given you all of your rights. You guys are well educated. I think you're ready to go off and take care of this on your own. I want to hear back from you guys with your success stories. It's been my pleasure to give this information to you. I really and truly want to see that you guys overcome this foreclosure. Remember, the best way to get what you need is to stay educated. Let's work together and let's try and help each other. Thank you so much.